know whether that, the nagging has so much to do with menopause. I'm sure if you're not a naturally nagging person, menopause will not necessarily make you nag so much. But I think knowing that it is a natural process makes a lot of difference. Because if you know that it's part of aging, then accepting it and finding out about the symptoms so that you recognize that you're not strange makes a lot of difference. I think that some of the symptoms can make one extremely uncomfortable because the hot flushes, at one time you're very hot, you're dripping with sweat, the next moment you're shivering. That can be extremely uncomfortable, and if you're still working, you can imagine what it is like. And at night, your bed will be wet and so on. And if you're hot, you want the fan or the air condition on. Your husband doesn't feel that way and doesn't want it on. So it has its own stresses. But I think the most important thing is the recognition that this is a natural process and that a lot of the symptoms will not persist interminably, so that you brace yourself and face some of those situations. And then when you recognize that perhaps some of the symptoms are what make you moody, then you decide that, look, I don't need to be moody, or I don't need to nag at somebody else because it's not their fault that I'm going through that.
It must be difficult to manage then.
Well, for some, yes. I must admit that I'm one of those who didn't go through anything. Except
lucky
for
you.
Blessed,
how did you?
Blessed me.
Okay.
Not lucky,
Yeah,
blessed.
you.
Actually, I like reading. I love to read.
Okay.
I love to read, and so it was a period where I read about getting there, and I kept praying to. I said, "Oh Lord, save me from some of these things." I'd like to say that God heard me in that respect, but I've never really gone through the hot flushes, and I have always been a bit talkative, so I don't think that the way I talk, I don't think my son will say I'm nagging. I don't think my grandchildren will find me. And then I've been active. I've been active in the office. I've been working, so focusing on doing things has also taken out, I'm sure, some of the needless results that would have otherwise occurred. I've kept my brain busy, by doing other things, and so I guess I haven't had time. I've been so busy having to work, I haven't had time to really sit and say this bone is hurting, that bone is hurting. I've also always wanted to know more about my body. I know, for example, that when I put on weight, my knees hurt. And so whenever my knees begin to hurt, then I know that my body mass has gone up and I need to do something to bring it down. And it is true. Once I bring down my weight, I don't get that. Yes, I don't get that any longer.
Now, you said that you were reading and also you kept praying.
Yes.
So it meant that at some point you were afraid to get into menopause.
No, I didn't want to experience some of the things that people were talking about. And I think that because of lack of knowledge, we can even exaggerate a little bit, For example, I was working. So, how do you go to a meeting and suddenly you're dripping with sweat? It's kind of both embarrassing and a little unnerving. And I didn't really want to go through that because, I've been working since a long time. And I didn't retire actively until I was 65. So you can imagine.
How old are you now?
67.
Wow.
So blessed. It blessed beyond measure. So it's been wonderful. But I think getting to know your body and understanding that you are like a fruit. Once it ripens, it starts, decaying. That is what the human body is. So once you understand that, So you watch your breasts in the mirror and they are not as supple as they used to be. But what does it matter? I mean, you're 50 something. Why do you want, breasts
Your
standing
boobs to
up
stand up.
as if you're 23?
Well, it looks good in clothes.
I know. Well, you can always wear a bra that will push it
doesn't
up.
match the face.
And do you get people walking into your clinic or your facility telling you that they're afraid of menopause because it's an end to life?
Not really. Most women don't even think about getting to menopause, as if they are not even aware of it.
Yeah.
But is it a disease?
It's not a disease, it's a natural process. Natural process of aging. So, going back to what Auntie Joyce was saying, it's not that the men should look at women as if they are nagging, they are not the same persons, but every man should understand that his wife will go through menopause and be understanding. She may not be able to have sex like before. She may be irritable. She may be crying frequently. Any small thing you say, she cries. Now you don't know why what didn't worry her before starts worrying her so much. And also, this is the age where children grow up and leave home, and the husbands have little time for their wives. And so the women also have psychological problems apart from the menopausal symptoms, like they are feeling lonely and the husbands don't pay attention to them and so forth. So it's a social problem.
Okay, do the men understand menopause at all?
The men wouldn't want to understand because they always want to enjoy their wives. The wife should be at best at all times to satisfy them. That's why you see many marriages also get divorced at this age, which is painful.
Okay. Auntie Joyce, do you think the men appreciate that menopause is indeed not a disease, but just something we need to go through?
I'm not sure many of them have put themselves up to it, but I think that it is time for men to understand. Actually, they go through theirs too.
Yes.
They go through theirs too when, their erectile processes are not as strong as when they were young. Because during that time, they really want to prove that they are young. So they go chasing
the
younger women and so on and so forth, and find that unless they get some of these bitters, nothing works. So they too have to understand that they go through some process of aging. For example, one of the symptoms for a woman is that there's a dryness in the vagina. So sex is even painful, very painful. Now, if you're a husband and you understand this, then you will use all sorts of methods, maybe greases and so on, to make it easier. The two of you understand. So you, the woman, too, you go and find the sort of greases that make it easier for your man to penetrate. So the knowledge is important. The knowledge is important because, after all, it is as we age that it's important to keep marriage, because then you become each other's companions when the children are not there, you see. But if during that period there's so much misunderstanding, both from the woman and from the man, then naturally it will tear the relationship apart.
Okay, but how do we get the men to understand us? Because if the men are not making an effort to understand, because they don't even know what really it is, how do we explain to them that this is what we're going through?
I think we ourselves need to understand that part of our life. It means that I have lost the production of two key hormones, estrogen and progesterone. And these are some of the hormones that used to create, certain things in me and make me more, supple, fertile, and so on. And that with the seizure of menstruation, there are certain things that are going to happen naturally in my body. Okay. So moodiness can be one of it. So when you see me moody, please don't panic. It could be one of those things. But I am also trying to understand the symptoms and deal with them. I may not be able to help the sweatiness all the time. And at night, I may sweat a lot. But you have to understand that this is part of it.
It must be very difficult for the men.
Why should it be difficult for the men? When they married
knowing
us,
how sweet
But when they married
and
us,
bubbly his wife was, and suddenly he wakes up one morning and
no,
his
no,
wife...
it doesn't just wake up one morning.
Gradual.
It is a gradual process. It's a gradual process, you know. If you've been watching nature, you will find that even in nature these things happen. And an ear of corn, nice, soft, you could cook it and eat it. If you leave it on the plant, or you even plug it and put it down, it gets very hard, it starts yellowing, and so on. And so we must understand that the body will also go through that process. And it is not, what do they call, rocket science. Now that so much knowledge is available, I think both husband and wife should prepare themselves to face that period. The woman too should begin to understand
that the man cannot get it up all the time.
Exactly. Or it falls down more quickly than it used to without help.
Scary.
You know. So I think that this is the time that the two of you should begin to understand your body and see how you can keep the relationship going with a little help from here, with a little help from there, and so on.
Okay.
You know.
Doc, do we have medication for menopause?
Yes, depending on the symptoms.
Okay.
Some may not need any treatment, but depending on what the person is going through, if the hot flashes are so severe and she's really not able to cope with it, then we can supplement with the hormones that are lacking for a time and redraw it after a while. And some can go into depression, so such a person needs antidepressant medications. Generally, is acceptance. Women should accept this is normal and find the right way to beat it. In other words, you may be at work and you are sweating. It happens to me right now sometimes. But knowing that, I would behave in such a way that you may not notice it. With the white people, it's a bit more difficult because suddenly a white lady will blush and her ears will be red, and so everybody sees that she's going through
obvious menopause.
Thank God for our color.
Yes, our color is masking certain things, but also the mood. Knowing that this is what happens, we need to also work on ourselves to behave in a certain way, control it. You know, this okay. Today nothing makes me happy. Then just let me be quiet and do my work and not give it to others.
Okay. Now, Auntie Joyce mentioned, for instance, if you realize that you're always getting a very dry, vagina, you can go for lubricants. There's always the KY on the market. But would you enjoy sex at all in that state?
Now, both couple have to understand that they are all not young. The man also should look at himself in the mirror and see that a lot has changed
but
from
they do
the
have
time
needs.
he was 25.
Yeah.
So the needs also have reduced, both in the man and the woman. So, but the men don't easily accept their sexual weakness.
So they go for Viagra and worship you.
Yeah, they want to do it to the last day. Even
Show the sexual prowess.
the sex is so important for men that they will do everything to enjoy it. Even
I think it's because they are
the little
scared.
that they could, they will try to do
Okay,
their
so
best.
there's the issue of the fear
I
factor.
think the fear factor for men is so real, because a man then begins to go, oh, no longer a man. But you're still a man. There's something dangling in front of you. It's just that
Except it's not powerful.
It's not as powerful as it used to be. And again, that is also part of the process of aging. And you see, medically, the libido, that is the urge to have sex, decreases. And it should be normal. You see, this is when it is very important to look at your aging process and decide that this is the time you can also offer a lot to others. Make yourself a great mentor a great coach. Get involved in things that don't center on yourself, but center on others, so that you are helpful to other people and less focused on yourself, your needs, your libido, and so on. So it's very important. One thing I'd like to mention also is that children grow up and leave the house, as Dr. Sati was saying. But that does not need to make a woman depressive. There are many other homes where a motherly care is needed. So join a group, join a society.
Should we form an association of
menopausal women? So you won't get me to join you. No, but I think be active. For a lot of people, church presents a great avenue to be a little more active. Because before then, you were active around your children. Now they're not there. You have a lot of time on your hands. Get active and do other things. You'll find that as you get active and you do other things, the focus is not really on yourself anymore. Oh yeah, you'll sweat a little bit. My sister, for example, still sweats, but she understands it, and she knows what to do.
Because she's acquired knowledge.
Yes.
So how do we make this knowledge available to everybody?
Well, I saw something in the mirror and I cut it.
Menopause.
Daily Graphic. August 17th, 2013. And it said, visit www.graphic, beauty tips, and so on. Women, menopause, the misunderstanding phase of the woman's life. And I cut it. And I said, look, I'm going to get more knowledge and also use it to help others to recognize that this is a necessary phase of our lives. Actually, there's a joy in this time too. Can you imagine? I don't have to buy yard sanitary pad or any other sanitary pad. I don't have to. It is bliss, I mean,
and the uncomfortable thing you go through every month.
I know, so it's wonderful. And you said that the Chinese say second spring. Yes. Oh, I'm enjoying my second spring. I'm enjoying my second spring, So there are advantages also of having menopause if you learn to manage it. And we need to manage it. Just the way you would deal with a fruit that is going too soft because it's past the ripened stage. You may decide to juice it, So we should also learn to do with our bodies, For example, the skin gets drier. What are some of the moisturizing creams that you should be using? Because naturally it's going to get drier. You should find out about all these things. How should you make up? You can't make up the way Nanaba is making up.
Auntie Joyce, your makeup is splendid.
Thank you very much. But you have to know.
Yeah.
Bags start coming under your eyes. But what do? It's part of the aging process.
You can have surgery, cosmetic surgery.
Yeah, if you can afford it. Okay. If you can afford it. But if you can't, you have to. Sometimes when I notice that under my eyes, because I'm stressed, I put coins on there. Yeah, coins because of the coldness. To reduce it. You have to learn to manage yourself well. Eating is also very important. Eat more fruits, more vegetables, not overcooked vegetables. But if you can eat them raw, fine. I can't eat most vegetables raw. So I will just, just braise them and just make them crunchy. And you try and eat more fruits. Try and drink more natural juices.
Water.
Okay.
A lot of water.
Enough.
Yes.
Oh wow! And so, when you have patients coming in with all these symptoms, does it drive you to take them through the education of the menopausal symptoms, or should we have a bigger platform to address menopausal symptoms?
I think what we are doing today also is part of educating both women and men to learn about it. And it will be good to address bigger groups and discuss things. Women can contribute.
Because I'm afraid.
Women can contribute.
It's going to take a long
I am
time.
afraid.
Now that Auntie Joyce told you
I'm inspired.
how she went through smoothly, is not something to be afraid of. most women don't have serious problems.
Yeah.
Few have serious problems. But with aging and the menopause, we need to also adjust our lifestyle. You need to have enough rest. You need to drink enough water, at least 3 liters a day. You need to
and urinate
reduce
a lot, because that is what
You
brings
need
it about to
to-
your sitting on the pot.
the bladder is weak.
Yes.
So
So you pass urine a lot.
A lot.
you need to pass urine a lot, otherwise you start leaking. So the life changes also include that you need low fat diet, because this time it's easy to put on weight, and increase in the cholesterol is what leads.
Do you have to go to the gym?
Yes,
Yes,
why
if you
not?
can, yeah.
Brisk walk, gym, and because the structure is changing, so you need to tone your muscles, and you need to look at your body. Maybe what you didn't care about until the age of 40, now you will have to start thinking about things to improve and all that.
I'm
Heart
nervous.
disease,
It's okay.
and then the osteoporosis.
Yeah, you have
The
to be
bones,
careful about that.
the bones get weaker and weaker, especially in the first year of menopause. Bones get very weak. So you need to exercise. That also makes the
calcium
bones
intake.
strong. And then you have to take calcium. In our diet here, the calcium is very little. So you need to increase your milk intake. If you can't, then you have to go for the tablets, and also vitamin D. So you need to expose your body a bit to the sun, go to the beach and enjoy your weekends. And also there are also oral medication for vitamin D.
I know weird things happen in this world, very strange things. Can a woman experiencing menopause get pregnant?
When it is premenopause, that means before the periods stopped completely, but they are not regular, then the fertility has decreased, but still
It's there.
is possible. So once a while you may have somebody who is 48
50.
who is pregnant, or very rare 50. I personally haven't had anyone at the age of 50 pregnant in my practice. The oldest was 48 and a half.
Pretty close.
But there are
Very
some
close.
too who are just about 50 or 51, but they don't know their age. A lot of women in Ghana don't know their age, and they also remarry, and the need for a child is always there, and the pressure. So when they are lost their period, instead of thinking it's menopause, they'll be going around checking if she's pregnant.
Which is causing the problem?
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Looking for pregnant.
Okay, we need to wrap up here, but before we go, of course, if you didn't know, Auntie Joyce here is a poet as well. She writes a lot.
But not poems.
Okay.
Prose.
Prose.
Yes.
Okay, and how did you take Professor Wuna's demise?
You know, I was very broken for two reasons. One, to die outside your own country, and in the manner in which he died. And I was thinking how traumatic it must have been for he himself to know that you've been shot in the stomach. When you're shot in the stomach, you don't die quickly. So the pain that he must have gone through. I mean, a 78-year-old man, at the time in his life when really he's enjoying the last days of his life, or the autumn days of his life. So I was quite broken. And because I knew him so well as somebody who had a joie de vivre, I think we've lost someone. But what gladdens my heart is that he wrote so many. So really, the memory of him will never die.
We have no excuse.
Yeah, the memory of him will never die. And I prayed that this time a lot of his books would be reprinted, and that if the nation wants to really do something good for him, then perhaps we might consider making his publications, his proses, his history works, and his poems part of the supplementary reading materials in our schools at all levels. That would be one of the best things that we would do for his memory, so that people will get to know him.
Okay. And just by the way, are you thinking of writing any articles on menopause?
I haven't thought about it, but it might be a good idea.
Yeah.
Might be a good idea because, it is natural. It will happen.
We can't run away from it.
You cannot run away from it. Just like when you were born as a girl, you didn't menstruate until a certain time. The eggs that God gives us are a certain quantity, and they decrease with every menstruation. So at a certain time, the production will stop. I have a pear tree, and after a while, the pear tree will stop bearing fruit. Same thing. It is natural. But you look more elegant. When the tree stops bearing fruit, there's an elegance about it. It's stately. It is big. It still has its beautiful green leaves. That's what you're going to become.
Amen.
In 50 years from now.
Thank you very much, Dr. Joyce Aye. And, of course, Dr. Satya Saki, a gynecologist and director of SNS Medical Center. Thank you, both of you.
Thank you for having us.
Somebody just whispered that when women are, experiencing menopausal symptoms, they go to weddings and funerals a lot.
Is that so?
That's
This is the age when you have time for everything.
They have time.
So it's good they do go
Yeah.
and attend, because you need to keep yourself busy,
True.
meet friends.
Okay.
I think it's a good thing.